Hello again everyone, my name is Yordan Stefanov and this is the third video of the series about budget sensors. Today's topic is BudgetSensors Atomic Force Microscopy probe tips. So far we have looked at the holder chip and the cantilever. The tip is the next main building block of AFM probes. If you have watched the previous two videos from this series, you are already familiar with this image and you have also noticed that this tip I am talking about is so small that it is hardly if at all visible here. Nevertheless, it is something very important and now we will see why. On the left side of this slide is an image of a surface taken with a brand new BudgetSensors probe having a sharp tip with a radius of around 8 nanometers. On the right is a scan of exactly the same sample but taken with a slightly blunter tip with a radius of a little bit more than 20 nanometers. The difference between the two images is obvious. The second image looks much fuzzier and the sharp corners of the triangular structures cannot be distinguished. Keep in mind that this tip with a 20 something nanometer radius is still a very sharp tip. It is roughly 5000 times sharper than a human hair. Still, it is not sharp enough to image this sample properly. So the sharpness of the small tip, at the end of the small cantilever, at the end of the small holder chip is what ultimately determines what we can see and eventually manipulate at the micro and nanoscale. A very illustrative analogy can be made with a blind person reading Braille code. This person will probably want to use their sharp fingertips to read rather than their elbows. Let us take a look at the types of BudgetSensors probe tips. We will start with the most common standard silicon ones. All our silicon probes with no coating on the tip side of the cantilever and holder chip have the same tip properties. The largest part of the tip is a tetragonal pyramid. Several hundred nanometers away from the top it turns into a triangular pyramid. The three side walls of this pyramid intersect in a single sharp point, the tip apex. The apex has a nominal radius of curvature below 10 nanometers. This 10 nanometer radius is valid for uncoated tips only. The different tip side coatings inevitably increase the radius. We will look into that in more detail in my next video. For very high resolution measurements we have a special probe called the single high-res 150. This probe actually has the same basic tip structure as all other silicon tips, with one small but important exception. On the 10 nanometer silicon apex we have an ultra sharp carbon spike which makes the tip almost 10 times sharper. The tip radius in this case is around 1 nanometer only. This probe is actually a modified TAP 150 probe and it is meant for soft tapping mode imaging of very fine features in the low nanometer and the sub-nanometer region. The next type of tip is the one found in our Cine, the probe with two silicon nitride cantilevers and tips on each side of the holder chip. This probe has a peculiar double tip structure on each cantilever. The structure looks like this as a result of the manufacturing technology we have chosen, which ensures very stable and reproducible results for silicon nitride. The tip radius in this case is below 15 nanometers. When the Cine probe is mounted in the AFM system's probe holder, it is usually at an angle of 10 to 13 degrees to horizontal, and the back tip, the one closer to the holder chip, remains elevated from the sample surface. Only the front tip interacts with the surface and contributes to the image. Finally, we also offer a model based on the 4 cantilever probe all-in-one but with no tips at all, the Tipless all-in-one. Some customers need such probes for special tasks. Usually they attach spheres or other objects to the cantilevers and then such probes are used for example for nano indentation tests or measurements on very soft biological samples that would be damaged or destroyed by sharp tips. Looking once again at the BudgetSensors probe overview, we have the regular silicon probes with no tip coating and radius below 10 nanometers. Next are the regular silicon probes with various tip coatings that increase the radius to between 15 and 60 nanometers. Then comes the high resolution model SHR 150 with a carbon spike and 1 nanometer radius, the probes with tipless cantilevers, and finally the 15 nanometer silicon nitride double tip probes. Thanks for watching. Please contact us or check out our website in case you need further information about our products.